Hey, good evening, friends. Today, my friends, is Monday, January the 19th, 2026, and the time now is 9 o'clock p.m. So, friends, I want to talk about AFCON, the African Cup of Nations, and I want to talk specifically about the fact that the African Cup of Nations finally came to an end yesterday, the 18th of January 2026. And I want to talk also specifically about the fact that Senegal emerged as the winner of the African Cup of Nations. Now, friends, this African Cup of Nations by many had been dubbed to be the best so far in the history of the tournament, the African Cup of Nations. And it was also declared to be a tournament basically that goes as this: North Africa versus West Africa. So you have the two West African countries of Senegal and Nigeria playing the two North African countries of Egypt and Morocco, the host nation, for the first, the second, and the third place. Now, friends, Nigeria, which lost to Morocco, played Egypt for the third place, and Nigeria emerged the winner. Egypt is a very strong country in terms of football or soccer. It has a very strong team, very good team, with Mohamed Salah as one of the spearhead or the spearhead of the team, the main man of the team. And he had been met with a lot of disappointment in terms of his inability to win important tournament. So Nigeria emerged the winner of the third place rank. Now, friends, for the final between Morocco and Senegal, there has been lots of controversies leading up to the final and also during the final. One being that Morocco did allocated a very small number of tickets or seats for fans. It is said that Morocco allocated for Senegal about 10,000 seats or less than 10,000 seats or so, if I can remember the exact number, and that each of the player and the staff members on Senegal's team were only given 4 tickets, which it is very interesting, and I don't think Morocco should have done such a thing because the tournament not only is said to have been Morocco being one of the gateway of Africa, opening the door, showing the world what Africa is, and also showcasing itself. The event was an African event. I think it was a Pan-African event as far as the various countries and the fans in Africa and around the world are concerned. Perhaps the way Morocco handled it basically deviate from Pan-African sentiment or reality. Now, I do not recall the exact number of seats that Morocco allocated for Senegal. If I can remember, it is about 10,000 seats or less than 10,000 seats allocated for the Senegalese fan base. And also Senegal's players and staff members being given about 4 seats. In addition to that, where the Senegalese team was supposed to be practicing or training for the final was much closer to the Moroccan team. And there was this allegation that it would have made it difficult for Senegal and that Moroccans were going to be spying on Senegal's, trying to see what their strategy is moving into the final or going into the final. Also, at one point when Senegalese team was going to the stadium, they were never provided security, which I think it is disrespectful not only to Senegal but I think to Africa or Africans. I think Morocco did a very bad job. In this case, Morocco disrespected the entire Africa. Morocco disrespected the sport itself. You have to, for the protection of the players and also for the dignity of the event, the tournament, which Morocco, as a host country, Morocco did a tremendous job. However, for the remaining quarter or so, or the remainder of the event, basically talking about the final stages of the event, once again, friends, Morocco did a very good job throughout the tournament. However, at the closing event, the closing phase of the event, and we are talking in this case the final, Morocco did a horrible job. Morocco should have provided security and escort for the Senegalese players, for the team, and not allowing them to go to the stadium by themselves, where they were met with lots of people, basically a huge crowd. And I watched an interview with the coach of Senegal, where he stated that anybody who had a bad intention could have hurt one of his players. And that is a reality. And I think Morocco also did this for psychological purpose, to inflict psychological trauma or psychological warfare on the Senegalese team moving into the final. But I think, had Senegal been a different team from a different continent, let's say a European team, whether we are talking about a great tournament or not, the way Morocco treated Senegal, I think Morocco wouldn't have done that to any other teams from Europe, from the Americas, or from even Asia. In this case, Morocco was wrong. Now, to be honest, during the entire tournament, Africans came together. Africans from different walks of lives celebrated and supported teams from different parts of Africa. Everyone championed the Congolese national team and the human statue of Congo, the man who, for every match Congo played, stood at attention for 90 minutes with his right hands up, honoring Patrice Lumumba of Congo, the prime minister, first prime minister of Congo, who was assassinated by the West, the United Kingdom, France, the United States, and also Belgium. Also, North Africans also did celebrate it and supported teams from sub-Saharan Africa. So this was a Pan-Africanist event. And even Black Americans and African people of African descent from all over, from the United States, the West, and so on, basically paid attention to this tournament, watch this tournament. And currently, there is a very famous African American YouTuber, Aisha Speed, who had been touring Africa. After having toured Europe where he was mistreated, Speed had been touring Africa and been giving lots of love. And with Speed trip to Africa and also the African Cup of Nations event, many in the Black African diaspora have been paying attention to what is happening in Africa. Whether we are talking about Aisha Speed's tour of Africa or the African Cup of Nations. So it is an interesting thing that has been occurring for the past month or so. Now, in terms of the tournament itself, the final, once again, Senegal emerged as the winner. But there were some controversies, one being that, as it was the case during the Nigerian game with Morocco, where the Nigerian goalkeeper's towel was taken and thrown away, we saw the same thing during the match with Senegal, in which or during which Moroccan ball boys were taking the towels of the Senegalese goalkeeper and thrown it away, to the point where Senegal did appointed its reserve goalkeeper to stand at attention by the Senegalese goal to hold the towel for the goalkeeper, so that whenever the goalkeeper needs to use it, he can hand it to the goalkeeper. And There were many cases where the when the ball boys of Morocco tried to take the towel from the Senegal's goalpost, to the point where they even roughed up the Senegalese reserve goalkeeper who was standing with the towel in his hand. And now, Morocco's captain Hakimi even engaged in the thing, in the activity where he actually grabbed the towel from the goalpost, the Senegali goalkeeper's towel, and thrown it away. And a member of the Senegali team, one of the players, jumped over, okay, from the field and grabbed the towel and brought it back. I think that was a shameful thing. But in terms of the game itself, Senegal scored about 2 goals that were recalled, basically canceled. One which the referee first refused to relook at the play. Once again, the referee canceled that goal and calling it a foul. Now, friends, in terms of the situation between Morocco and Senegal, it got very much tense. At one point in the Senegalese goal, one Moroccan player and a Senegali player basically challenged one another, and the Moroccan player fell to the ground. He flopped, and Morocco was awarded a penalty, which this same player took the penalty and he missed it. Or let's say he tried to trick the goalkeeper and he kicked the ball into the goalkeeper's hand. As of now, there has been issues or people saying that it is a controversy or a conspiracy that this guy decided to willfully kick the ball in the hands of the Senegali goalkeeper's hand or whatsoever. But Morocco did not score. Now, prior to the penalty kick, when the penalty was awarded to Morocco, we saw the Senegali bench, the Senegali team or players, they were very much angry. And the coach called his players off the pitch. The captain of Senegal's team, Sadio Mane, called his team back in and told them, you have to play till the end. And this has been the case during the tournament. I remember one game, at the end of the game, Senegal was celebrating, and Sadio Mane told his players, his teammates, we do not celebrate till the end, till we win the championship, the tournament, then we can celebrate. It isn't over yet. But Sadio Mane is being shown love throughout the African diaspora and all over Africa. And he's being named to be the person who won the tournament for Senegal because he called the Senegal team back onto the pitch. Now, this is very interesting, and I do think that every team, every group, every society needs a leader to rally the troops. I made a video recently about the situation in the Central African Republic in terms of the election. And in this case, the opposition force in Central African Republic boycotted the election because they thought or because they think that the election process was unfair. And in this video, I stated that when you withdraw yourself, when you just so willy-nilly boycott an event, you make it so that the opposition win freely, easily, without any contest. Stay in and fight to the end, okay? It's probably best for you to lose fighting than for you to just give in like that. And I think this is what Sadio Mane did. And it was an event, an occurrence that I believe will go down in history in terms of football and in terms of African politics. This also is not just football, it's not just sport, it is national, international politics for the various African countries as well. And Senegal, I believe, is supposed to be in the World Cup, if I do remember correctly. And let's see the momentum that Senegal goes with into the World Cup. Now, for Senegal walking off the pitch, I have heard many commentators and even Europeans uh, shaming Senegal, and even the Moroccan coach shaming Senegal for walking off the pitch. I think it is very interesting. It is hypocritical and dishonest Now, instead of you blaming and condemning the action that someone take or made, why don't you look at the situational aspect or aspects that propelled them to make a specific or take a specific decision? Honestly, there was lots of cheating and inappropriate behavior from Morocco. Morocco, as many have been saying, crossed many lines during the tournament or during the game, and the referee never hold them accountable. The fact that many had been criticizing Senegal for walking off the pitch, I think it is dishonest. It is kind of like what has transpired in American history when we have a system that basically disrespect and brutalize black people, black Americans most especially. And whenever they react or take specific actions, they are criticized and bombarded with lots of derogatory insults for taking such action. And friends, this is without looking at the situation or the situational aspect or aspects that propel or inspired or motivate them to make or take a specific decision or action. Now, in terms of AFCON, it was an amazing tournament, and I once again I do believe, in addition to what many are saying, I want to support what many are saying. It is probably the best African Cup of Nations tournament. Okay, this one which ended on Sunday in African history, and Senegal made Africa proud. And looking at the dishonesty that is going on in international politics today, looking at the mistreatment that Africans, black Africans, have been experiencing around the world, looking at the rift between Africans, African Americans, Africans in the diaspora, looking at the trip of Israel Speed in Africa, his tour of Africa, looking at Africa's internal crisis, looking at Donald Trump's insults of Africa, of Africans, the bombing of Nigeria by Donald Trump's United States, looking at the situation in the Sahel, and the Sahel countries as of now are serving as the guardian of Africa's dignity, looking at the situation in the Horn of Africa, the crisis in Sudan, and we are talking about the genocide in Sudan, the genocide in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and other issues in Africa. Looking at Trump's insult of South Africa and his wrong allegation or accusation of South Africa's government of genociding white people. Looking at Donald Trump's misbehaviors around the world. With all these events transpiring, Senegal winning the African Cup of Nations and the African Cup of Nations, the way it is played, and the way Africans came together from all walks of life. I believe, friends, it was a good thing for Africa. African Cup of Nations this year made African proud, and Senegal made Africa proud. Now, friends, please tell me what you think. And friends, I really want to know what you think. However, friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends. But most especially and most importantly, or most important, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.